Okay, well, this is my first day back in Ireland for a while, and I live in Wales now, and what I'm going to do today is, I couldn't decide between telling a story that comes from Wales and one that comes from Ireland, so I'm going to do both. And the first one is going to be the one that I brought over from Wales, and maybe familiar to some of you, because it's about Arwen. How many of you know what Arwen is? That word, that little Welsh word, Arwen. No one really knows what Arwen means. It's A-W-E-N. And in the Welsh language, you may know that a W is an oo sound. So it's three syllables. It's R-U-N. And it's quite untranslatable. Even the scholars don't know what it means. But they think it's something like the flowing spirit. It's the flowing spirit of inspiration, of creativity, the flowing spirit that flows through all things, and especially through the human heart and mind, the whole human psyche that brings up the whole upwelling of inspiration that creates days like this of poetry and story and music. So I thought it'd be an appropriate story to really kindle all that Arwen within each of us here, much of which has already been set to flame by some wonderful poetry we had earlier on. So this is the story of Arwen and how it came to be about. And it tells the story of the great bard Taliesin, how he actually came to be born. And Taliesin, well, some say that he was an actual historical bard from the 6th century. We do have poems that he wrote that we have today. But others say Taliesin is actually the title. It meant the shining brow, the one who is so inspired he has this light, or she has a light around her head. And that is the light of Arwen, the flowing bright spirit that fills one with inspiration and enlightenment and everything that is to do with waking up to life and spirit and everything. So this is the story of the birth of Taliesin. And I want to start with a moment of silence because, we're having a lot of words, we're having a lot of music, we're having a lot of wonderful talk and crowd and everything else today. And for me, this story is about how all sound, whether it's words, music, laughter, all sound comes out of silence. And the silence is the void, and in whether it's Welsh or Irish, Celtic, Pan-Celtic mythology, the void is the womb of the goddess. It's the womb of the mother, the silent womb of creation from which all comes forth and to which all returns. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Sheila na gig figures that we have in Ireland and Wales and all over. And the poet Nuala O'Donnell said, because a lot of ink has been spilt. What are the Sheila na gigs about? It's this woman holding her vagina open, and they're really weird. And the Christians say they're about some, warning against lust and sexuality and all of that. And what are they doing up in churches? Well, it's hard to kind of get an explanation for that one. But Nuala O'Donnell, she cuts through all of that, and she says the Sheila na gig is where you came from and where you're going to. It's the womb, the great mother. So we're going to have just a few moments silence to feel into that void, into that womb from which all comes forth. And then what I thought we'd do is, in the Druid movement today, there is a whole chanting of the word Arwen that goes on in a lot of circles, or groves as we call them. And the chanting of the word Arwen is rather like chanting Om, if you're inclined towards Eastern spirituality. But I like to think of it as a bridge because it also has that resonance of Amen from Western spirituality. Whatever it is, it's a beautiful sound. So I suggest we start with some silence, and then I'll just lead us in the Arwen chanting. And you just chant Arwen as loud or as soft, in harmonies, or whatever you want to do with it. We'll just make that rolling sound. And I'll tell the story of how Taliesin, who is really the poet to each one of us, how he came upon that Arwen and what he did with it. So let's just take a few moments to experience the silence from which all things are born.